And then I'll share my screen.
We're gonna be doing this lesson.
Pardon? What are we
What
doing?
are we doing this
Um,
lesson?
so I'll show you, I'll show you the game we're making. 1 second. So it's kind of
It's gonna be
revising.
like what we did last lesson.
Pardon?
It's gonna be what we did like last lesson.
Yeah, so it's a bit like what we did last lesson. So you know how we made a project last lesson, which was,
Yeah.
it was like the wandering turtle, right? That moved up and down. We're gonna be doing something similar, but I'll show you. It's called geometry turtle. So it's just asking how many sides will the shape have, and then if I say like 3, it'll make like a 3-sided shape, but like with the shape inside of every side as well, if that makes sense. Hang on. I'll open it this way so you can see it better. So we're kind of making geometric patterns using loops and things. So it's going to be like a bit of revision of what we learned all these last few lessons.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if it's asking how many sides will the shape have. So if I say 5, it will do it like this. So it's drawing a 5-sided shape, but then it's drawing like mini ones inside it as well. Pardon? Sorry.
The clip inside the pool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then if you make like, let me run it again. If you make it a bigger number, maybe like 8 or something. Okay, go back to this. It might get cut off the screen a bit. Maybe not. But yeah, it looks pretty cool the more shapes you have. Yeah, so it's like making patterns and stuff. Pretty cool. Yeah, making patterns with these shapes. So we'll get started. Let me close this. So I'll just open up.
My
Pardon?
dad made this thing using like this kind of like game kind of thingy.
Yeah.
Well, code thing using turtle.
Oh yeah.
And it like made a continuous shape, like continuous squares, like going like you can like do a number, I think it was like in a coding, and then it would like make that many like squares, and it would get like it'll keep going out.
Ah, that's pretty cool. Sounds
I
cool.
wanted to show it to you, but we couldn't like figure out how to like get it like open, like to get it to work.
Ah, right. So is it saved as a Python file?
I'm not sure, but I'll try to get it open now.
Okay. If not, it's okay. Otherwise, I can try help you at the end of the lesson to get it open if you want.
Found the code thing where like what my dad did.
Ah, yeah. Do you want to show me? Do you want me to stop sharing and then you can show me if you want really quickly? Okay, so that's the code he did.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the code, like that's copied from, like, you know how we have the Python shell? Like you can see the little arrows. So that's copied from the Python shell, I think. So you could probably like get rid of those stuff. And then you'd be able to run it because it has a, like, yeah, it has a couple of things that are arrows and stuff.
It was working before when you did it.
Oh, it was working before? Okay.
I'll try it again, but I'm pretty sure what he did was change like these things here to like
Oh, yeah.
dots, 2 dots.
Yeah.
Like users.
Because this is Python, then usually it uses dots instead of those bracket things. But yeah.
But I can't remember like where I put them.
Oh, you can't remember where you put them.
Like I can't remember like here, like at the end.
Or like where the other end is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It can be a bit
I'll
confusing.
try trying it again. So there's the code.
Oh yeah.
I'll click enter.
Invalid syntax. Okay, so I think one thing is maybe because this is on the shell, you might have to do it line by line, possibly. Or because you have like, do you see the bits of code that say like traceback and stuff? You don't want to type that in because that's usually a message the shell gives you. So maybe next time you try do it without those stuff.
Oh, I see, like dots. He's already put the dots in.
Oh no, so that's actually not code. That's like
Oh yeah, just
when
like
you type something and you get an error, that's the thing you get. So you're not meant. So let me share my screen again to show you what I'm talking about. So like, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep. So do you see, like, this is the Python shell and those 3 arrows is the shell. If I type something wrong, I get a message that looks like that. So you're not actually meant to type this bit into your code because it's not really any Python code. It doesn't do anything. So that's why you're getting invalid syntax. So you might need to try do it line by line. But yeah, we'll first work on this project and then when you have time, maybe you can try run that code, but only use the lines that have this next to it. Just copy what's next to the 3 arrows. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we'll start with this project anyway. Let me just run it again.
Not the arrows.
Yeah, copy like the words that are next to the arrows, but not the arrows.
Okay, well, that's gonna be a lot of copying.
Yep. Or like you copy them and put them in a file like how we've been doing, and then you can just run it once. Okay. So if we now go back to this game, the one we're working on, what we want to do is we first want to just look at the project and break it up a bit. So what are the different things that's happening in our project? So as soon as I open it, it asks us something and it sets up the turtle. Sorry?
Even the one we did last time.
Pardon?
So even the project we did last time.
Yeah. So it's similar to that. So the first thing we need to do is like what we did last time. We need to ask the player how many sides will the shape have, and then save it.
Oh. I don't think this is the right one that I did. Or maybe this is it.
Is this the one from last week?
No, like the one that my dad did.
Oh, right.
I'll try this. See if this works. So it's in. Dang it.
Didn't work?
Yeah.
Okay. So you might need to try it after class and see what
Maybe it's because it
happened.
didn't have the arrows.
Pardon?
Maybe it's because it didn't have the arrows.
It could be, or yeah, this is why there could be something like a small error in the line of code, which is why like usually when we're writing our code, we test it every time we make a change, or we try to. That way we can see where the error is.
Yep.
But yeah, I think what you're talking about is similar to the project we're doing today. So maybe it might make more sense once you do this. and you might get an idea.
Yeah, I got it. How far
You got it? Is it working? Oh, hi. Sorry, I think there was an issue with my internet.
Yep.
Okay,
I had lost one.
you lost yours too. Okay, let me share my screen again.
Yeah. It
Okay.
happened last time for me. It's
Oh, for
very
you.
annoying
Yeah, it is a bit annoying.
because it just randomly drops out.
Yeah, and then the other person just looks like they're frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, back to this project. The first thing we want to do is we want to ask how many sides will the shape have? And then remember, so do you remember about like variables and stuff? So we need to save it in a variable as well. So that's another step we need to do. And what type of variable do you think we need to save this answer as? Like, will it be a string or an integer?
I think it
Or
would be a string.
not exactly. So it saves it as a string, but we need to save it as a number. So that's an integer. So like, because we're saying how many sides will the shape have, we just want to type in a number. So we want to save that value as a number in our code. So let's start actually typing some code. So I'll just get idle open. So the first thing we need to do is whenever we're doing something with turtle, what do we need to type in?
Import turtle.
Yep. Okay.
Import
Also make sure you're in a new file. So not in the Python shell. Make sure you create a new file. Yep. So because remember the shell like does it one by one and it doesn't save it, but we want to be able to save our project.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we have it from next time.
Yep, exactly. And then you can run it whenever you want as well. So if you want to show people the cool shapes you made.
And remember, we do whatever name you call it, which I just call it Bob.
Yep. Good job.
Equal turtle dot and capital T.
Yep. And then turtle. So that creates our turtle thing. Now what we need to do is we need to ask the user for input.
Yeah.
Yep. So do you remember how to do that?
Not exactly.
Hello.
Not exactly. That's okay. Oh,
I,
hi David.
Hello. I'm sorry I'm
Oh, that's okay. So we just started. I was just showing Chester before the project, and we just started coding it now. So if you quickly open a new file, you can just follow on from where we are. I think I dropped out again. So David, I was just saying we just started a new project. So if you want to open up a new file and just follow on from where we are, we just wrote the first two lines. So what we're making is just like a shape, a thing with turtle where you type in the number of sides it will draw and it'll draw a cool shape, like in a pattern style thing.
Yep.
So yeah, we've just done these two lines so far. And now what we want to do is we want to ask the user for some input. because we want to ask how many sides will the shape have. So to do that, we type in the word input. So that with the brackets. And inside that, you put the quotation marks. Yep. So that will kind of like ask the question. So we need to type in our question. So how many shapes, sides, how many sides will our shape have? So this input method is how we like write a question on the screen and then the person can type in something next to it.
Yes, I got it too, David.
So when you guys have these 3 lines of code done, we'll just run it because we also have to save it. So if you press run and then run module.
Yeah, just don't run it right now.
Okay, I won't. Yeah.
Can I? Yeah. Thank you.
Just I'll get you to run it just so that you can save it as well.
Just finishing type.
When you're finished typing it.
Done.
Yeah, so David, we're just importing turtle and then creating our turtle called Bob. And now we're just asking the user how many sides will our shape have.
Yep, done.
Done? Okay.
I'm taking these into my new folder.
You're putting it where, Chester?
These into the new folder I created.
Okay, cool. That's good. Yeah, it's good to have them in folders so that you know where it's saved.
I called Border Python projects.
Nice. That's a good name. Because then you know where they all are and they're all in one place.
And don't forget, get confused because like I don't have to guess because it's like Python, so I know it's Python projects that we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So this one is called Geometry Turtle, but you can call it what you want as long as you know what the game is about.
Is it geometry or geometry?
Geometry, like GEOMETRY.
Yeah, I'm done.
You're done? Cool. And then once you've run it, like saved it, it should automatically like start the program. And then a Python shell should come up and ask you how many sides will our shape have. And then you should also see the Python turtles graphic, the Python turtle graphics window open as well. So did that work for everyone?
Yeah.
Yep, no errors?
Yep.
Okay, that's good. So now what we need to do is we ask the question, how many sides will the shape have? But we never save this answer anywhere. So we have to save whatever the person typed in as a variable. So do you guys remember how to make variables?
No.
No? Chester, do you remember?
I'm trying to. Wait, I think I got it.
Yeah.
So, like something, anything,
like a name,
like
something,
letter, word, number.
Yeah.
Like you go equals.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. So we put in our variable name. So we might call it sides. So this is like before the input, before the word input, we go sides equals, and then we say sides equals this. Because what it's doing is it's saving whatever the user typed in as the answer into a variable called sides.
And that?
Yep. David? Have you done that?
Not quite yet. I'm
Not
doing
quite?
that right now.
Okay, cool. So do you remember what a variable is? So we've made a variable, but do you know why we use variables and why we have variables?
Yes.
Yes?
So like the computer knows that that's saved into something.
Yeah, pretty much. So did that
Yeah,
make
I'm
sense?
done.
You've done it too? So did that make sense to you too, David? Why we use variables?
Yep.
Yep.
I'm done. I'm done.
You've done? Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to do one more thing. Because do you remember how last week when we saved whatever the answer was from this input thing into a variable, it saved it as a string?
The car is flying.
We want to make sure it's saved as a number or as an integer. So what we need to do is we need to save this answer, but convert it into an integer. So do you remember how we did this line of code, which was like int, and then the brackets, and then something inside?
Oh yeah.
Yep. So we want to put it in front of this. So type in the word int, and then put one bracket, like the opening bracket before the word input, and then the closing bracket next to that other bracket on the end.
Yep.
So what this is doing is it's saving whatever the input is, whatever the person typed in, as an integer, so as a number, and we're saving that whole thing into a variable called size.
I'm a pirate. I need to steal things. Steal.
So does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Yep?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So I'll just get you guys to run it just to check that you don't have any errors or anything.
Okay.
Okay.
So it should still just ask you how many sides will the shape have. And then it won't do anything after that. But yeah. It just says it's working. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Chester, did that work for you as well?
Yep.
Yep.
It doesn't do anything, but
doesn't.
yeah.
It does
Yeah.
work.
It does work.
I think that's how it works.
As long as it doesn't give you any error, like anything saying like trace back or something in red text, then that's good.
Yep.
Okay.
Good for me.
Well, it didn't.
Cool. So now we'll go back to our code. The next thing we want to do is, let me run the program again so that you guys can see. Because we're drawing one shape, but we keep drawing it over and over. So hang on. So it's asking how many sides will the shape have, and if I type in like 5, it's drawing a 5-sided shape 5 times. So do you guys remember how to repeat bits of code we can use something? Like we can use something, a loop.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what we need to do. We need to make something called a for loop. So do you remember what the for loops do?
I think it's like.
I think they repeat the things that you want them to repeat 4 times.
Yeah. So however many
times you put.
Yeah. So it repeats whatever code like you want it to repeat, however many times you tell it to.
I think the first part is in.
Yeah. Well, that's the second part. So you type in the word for.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So you type in the word for, and then you type in I. So I is just kind of like we use it as like a counter to just count each step of the loop, and then you type in in.
In.
Yep. So for I in.
Definitely right about in. In was something.
Yeah, in was something. And then because we want it to do something a certain amount of times, so if a person types in 3, you want it to do it 3 times. person types it 5, you want it to do it 5 times. So what can we use that's in our code here that remembers what the user typed in? What can we use as like a counter?
The int.
Yep, the int, but this side of the int. So we want to use that variable called sides.
Yes.
Because sides is whatever the user typed in, like however many times, however much sides it wants to draw, which means however many times we want to draw that shape. So we go for I in, but we want to type the word range, and then type in sides.
Brackets.
Yep, brackets. So range and then brackets, sides. And then that colon thing to the dot, 2 dots. So do you guys remember what range does?
Yep, I think so.
You think so? What do you think it does, David?
I think it does. Range does like. Oh, I can't remember it.
You don't remember it? That's okay. So it.
I think it like makes it like save and repeat.
Yeah, kind of. So the answer is kind of in the word. So it's like a range. So it kind of gives you a range from 1 to whatever number you put in here. So we put in sides. So sides is a variable, but it's counting a number. So if the user types in 5, then it'll go like 5 times. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's just, basically saying the range of like 1 to 5, like to make sure that it goes in the loop. So now what we want to do is, in the loop, to make sure after you type in sides and then that colon or semicolon, you press enter, and then you should be tabbed in, so you have a bit of space here.
Yeah.
Yep. So now we actually want to we start drawing our shape. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make it go forward a bit. So what will we type in?
Forward.
Yep, forward. Do we need anything else?
Brackets, maybe?
Bracket, yep. We also might need this, Bob dot forward. And then put in the brackets. And then we need to put a number in the brackets, so I might just say 100 or something. Because this number will always be the same because we just want all the sides to have the same length.
Yeah.
So 100 might be a good number. We can change it later if we want, but we'll see how it goes. And now what we need to do is we need to turn, because we need to go forward and then turn however many times to draw the next side of the shape. But do you remember how we did that square activity a couple of lessons ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many degrees did we have to turn for that square?
90.
90, yeah. And do you know how you know that? Like how you got the number 90?
Yes.
Because it's
Yeah.
90 degrees.
Yeah, but do you know why it's 90 degrees and not like 100 degrees or something else like that?
Because 90 degrees is like an angle that I can't say it. I can only show it.
You can show?
Yeah, I can only show it, but I can't.
Do you want to show?
No, I
You just
can't turn video chat on because I don't
All
have
right.
a video thingy.
Okay, yeah. So basically, because when we're drawing a square, we have 4 sides. So the angle needs to be divided by 4.
4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if I just get up a calculator, do you know how many degrees there is in a full circle? Does anyone know?
How many degrees in a whole?
So if you want to like turn completely, do you know how many degrees that is? So like if 90 is up there, pardon?
260?
Wait, 360? Is that what you said? Yep. So it is 360.
Round.
So like with a square, we want to like turn an equal amount of times, and we know that there's 4 sides with a square. So if you type in 360 divided by 4, you get 90. So that's why it's 90 degrees when we turn each side to draw a square.
Yep.
And then if it's like a triangle or something, you can go 360 divided by 3, because triangles have 3 sides, and you get 120. Yep. So that's how it calculates how many sides we want to turn. But in our program, we don't know how many sides the shape will have until the person tells us how many sides it will have. So what we need to do underneath here, so back up here again, underneath sides, we want to make another variable called angle, A-N-G-L-E. So angle equals, and this variable will calculate how far we need to turn to draw the shape, to draw whatever shape the person is telling us to draw.
Yep.
So does that make sense? So like, because we don't know if we're making a square or a triangle or what, we have to do the calculation in the code over here. So we have to say angle equals 360. And then does anyone remember what the divided by sign is on a computer?
Yes.
Yes? Which one is it?
It's that
You have to hold it.
extra kind of looking thing.
Hold it.
So that's the star thing is times. So
Kind of, oh yes. Oh,
It's a different one.
slash.
Yeah. yeah, so
Is
it's
it
slash.
And
Yeah,
the
so
extra kind of looking thing is the times.
the like star thingy,
Yeah.
like near the number 8. Yeah, so that's times. But to divide by
Number 9.
number 9, oh, okay. On my one, it's on number 8, but it might be different. Yeah, so what we want to do is we want to say 360 divided by the number of sides. So what do we need to put in here after the divided by sign? What can we use in our code that tells us the amount of sides the shape will have? Can anyone tell me? So we need to go 360 divided by the amount of sides the shape will have. So what's something that we saved in our code that remembers the amount of sides the shape will have?
There's range. Wait, not the thing.
Close. So it's in that range thing.
The int.
Yep, the int, but this side of the int again.
Yes.
So we just want that. We just want that variable name. So sides. So what this is saying is, for example, if it asks how many sides will the shape have, and I type in 5, the next calculation will be 360 divided by 5. So then it already calculated the angle for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so now if we go back into our loop, so if you just click at the end of this bob.forward line and press enter, make sure you are still in your loop, so make sure you're still tabbed in.
Oh, yeah.
Now we actually want to turn our cursor, like we want to turn our turtle whatever angle this is. So what line of code will we have to write?
Bob.angle.
Almost. So angle goes in the brackets. Do you know what we put before the brackets? So to turn to a side, to turn left or right.
Bob.left.
Yep. Bob.left.
Bob.right.
Yep. Or bob.right. So we'll use bob.left. And then you have the brackets. And then inside your brackets, that's where you put angle. So it's saying, what this loop is saying is it's saying for however many sides there is, we want to move forward 100 steps, and then we want to turn left, whatever angle it is, and then move forward, and then turn, move forward, turn. So for example, if we wanted to draw a square, when we ran the program, it would ask us how many sides will the shape have. So we type in the number 4. And then what this loop here will do is it will move forward 100 steps, turn 90 degrees, and then do that 4 times. So that'll draw a square.
Can I run it? Can we
Yep.
run it?
So you can run it now and see what happens.
Okay. How many sides will our shape have? 4. Enter. Well, it says an error.
An error? Okay.
Yeah.
So
can I just restart it? I'll just restart it and see if it's.
Okay, you can restart it and see if you get the error again.
Yeah. 4.
Chester, did yours work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got an error as well.
You got an error as well? Okay.
Yeah. Everyone got an error.
Okay, Okay, I'll go one at a time. So David, do you want to read out your error? Or what does your error say? Oh, actually, I'll get you to share your screen. So I'll stop sharing mine. So could you please share your screen?
Yeah, sure. So, share my
So I think it's
Python
a green
screen.
button. Yep.
My Python screen there. So,
Okay,
what?
so you actually
Oh yeah, it
have to
doesn't. It
change.
doesn't show there.
Yeah, you might need to share
Yeah,
the
stop share.
shell
Stop
screen.
share. Yeah, shares Python Turtle Graphics. The share screen. Yes, the screen share.
Cool.
There. So this is my turtle, and here's my error.
Arrow name
Make it
angle
bigger?
is not defined. That's fine. I can see it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you go back into your code, so it's saying name error, the name angle is not defined. So that means if we look back at your code, it can't find like a variable called angle. So you might have spelt it. Oh yeah. So you used angle down there in the me.left, but if you go up, do you see on the sides you have the word, like the letters A-G-E-L-E? So that's meant to say angle. So that's us like setting up the variable angle. And then,
yeah, so I think I'm done. I'm gonna just run it.
Yep. So Chester, was your error something different? Chester? Do you wanna share your screen so that I can see what error you're getting?
Yeah, I did it.
You did it, and did it work, David?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. You can, while you're waiting, like test it with like different numbers, like 3 or 5 or whatever, and see the different shapes it can make.
Oh, I think it can't make any different shapes. I think it is just gonna draw a square if I do 10. Oh.
So you can try it and see.
Okay, so it doesn't do a square. That's nice. So I'm gonna do 1,000. What is it gonna give me?
Chester, the error you're getting is it's saying name forward is not defined. So if you go into your code, do you see how you just have the word forward and brackets 100?
Yeah.
You have to write bob.forward so that it knows, like, because the dot forward function is part of the turtle thing and Bob is our turtle. Because otherwise, yeah, you have to type in the word Bob, by the way. Oh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, now try it, Chester. And then
try it.
Okay, that's a good sign. 55.
Yay.
It's a pretty big shape.
Yeah, so when you do 100,
Mm-hmm.
it does a circle, a really big circle, so you can see it.
Yeah,
So I'll just do 10 is a really good shape, and let me try 30. Yeah, 30 is still out of the...
yeah.
So 10 is average.
The average? Okay. What we
Yeah.
can do is we can actually, do you see how when we run our program, the cursor starts in the middle of the screen? We can actually make it like go down a bit so that it starts like on the bottom left or something, or on the bottom, so that it has more space to draw the shape. So we can make it move down. So I'll show you guys how to do that.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen. So can everyone see my screen again? Yep. Okay. So what we want to do before all this, I'll do it down here.
And change this thing to 90 and be like a cool, like a hexagon kind of shape.
Oh, cool. That's pretty cool. Yep. So what we want to do is right underneath where you type Bob is equal to turtle.turtle, we want to move, before like starting anything, we just want to move the cursor down to the bottom of it. So we want to make it go down a bit. So to do that, we first have to face the bottom. So does anyone know what angle, like how much we might need to turn?
I think it's...
Whatever 90 plus 90
3.
equals.
So it's I think it's no, I don't know.
So I think Chester was on the right track where, so if 90 is like that, we want to go 90 like 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, so it's 120.
120. So
Yeah.
no, it's actually, so if you type in 90 plus 90 plus 90, I think it's 270.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 270. So we want to turn to the left 270 degrees. So just type in Bob dot left, and then 270. So that just faces it down, but now we actually want to make it move down a bit. So now we can go Bob dot forward to make it go straight. And then I might go 150. Oh no, I might even go 200. So it starts in the middle, but we faced it down and we went down 200.
Yep.
And then what we want to do is we just want to make sure that it starts back at this point here, because this is where it normally starts. So we just want to turn left one more time, because right now we're facing this way. We want to turn left 90 degrees.
Bob dot left.
And then 90.
How much degrees? 90, yeah.
Yeah, because we went like 3 90s. We want to just go one more 90 to bring it back.
Yep.
So I'll let you guys just quickly run that. It might draw a line, but I'll show you how to get rid of that after.
Okay, let's see.
But it should be like now before it asks the question, the cursor should have drawn a line down, and then it's a bit more on the bottom. Yep. But do you see how it drew a line? We don't want to draw the line.
It drew the line, but I'm actually okay with it because it looks kind of cuter.
It looks kind of cuter. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because then you can draw your shapes. But I'll show you guys how to do it without a line. So if you want the line there, you can keep it, but I'll just show you how to do it without. So if you just close this again and go back to your code, there's something called pen up and pen down with Turtle. So what that means is if you put the pen up, then you stop drawing, and then if you put the pen down, you start drawing again. So before we go down, like before we draw that line that goes down, we want to put the pen up. So what we do is we go Bob dot PENUP, so pen up. So what this line of code does is it means we're telling it stop drawing, and it still moves, but it's not drawing anything on the screen. So does that make sense so far? David and Chester?
Nope.
Yep. So then what we want to do after we've moved down, because we want it to draw after that, we put the pen down. So we go Bob dot pen down.
Yep.
So what it's saying is don't draw anything, and we just want to move down and face this way, and now start drawing. So you can run that and see what happens.
How do you get it to like do what you did, like at the start of the lesson?
So like this thing, to move to the bottom. Oh, you mean like the extra shape things?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that next. So if you just run...
yeah, it worked.
It worked? Yeah, so if you just run your bit of code to see if it works. So we were just moving the cursor down a bit.
I won't do that 'cause I don't mind it being like, I don't mind it being upwards.
Okay, you don't mind it being upwards? Okay, well that's okay. As long as you understand, do you understand how to just make the cursor move to a different spot without having it draw?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Okay. So now we'll go on to the next bit of the program, because right now it just draws like one shape, but we want it to make like a cool pattern-like shape.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to show you guys something for now. I might do it in a new Python thing. So right now we have one loop, like one for loop, but what you can do is you can have a for loop inside another for loop. So I'll show it so that it makes sense.
Yeah, you finished my 1,000.
You finished it? Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I finished my 1,000. It was really long.
It was really long. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm just making another file just to quickly show you guys what a for loop looks like, and then what a for loop inside another for loop looks like. So that's called a nested loop. So for example, if we go for I in range 4, Bob dot forward 10. So I'll show you what this does, and then I'll show you what it does with another loop inside it. So oh, sorry, what were you saying, Chester?
I made Bob go 2 million.
2 million. Whoa, that's a lot.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. That's gonna take you like forever.
Yeah. That's gonna be a long line.
1,000. Too small.
Too small. Okay. So with this code that I have on my screen right now, how many pixels will Bob move? So can anyone tell me?
So should I create a new one?
Oh no, so you can just look on my screen for now. So I just want everyone looking on my screen for now.
Yeah.
So with this like bit of code that I have here, how many pixels do you think Bob will move? So if like 10 is pixels, 10 pixels, how far do you think it will go? So it's in a loop with a range of 4. So
it will go 40 pixels.
Yep, exactly. So it will go 40 pixels. But if we do this, so inside that loop, if I have another loop, do you know how many pixels it will move now? Can anyone tell me? I'll have a guess.
I think I do. No?
Yep. So you can just guess.
It's gonna be 80 pixels?
80 pixels.
Or the same
Oh.
40?
Almost. Not exactly 80. So I'll quickly explain it. So
81?
if, okay, a bit more than 80. So when we just have one loop, moving forward 10 pixels, we repeat that 4 times, so that becomes 40 pixels. But when we have 2 loops, like the code does this line of code, then it does this, then when it reaches the loop, it does the one inside, like the inside-most loop first. So it does this 4 times, so that means it's moved 40 pixels. And then it goes back and does this outside loop. So it moves 40 pixels 4 times plus another 10 pixels out there. Hang on. I'll show you how it looks so that it makes a bit of sense. Okay, I'm just gonna save it for 1 second. So nested. So what it does is it like runs the whole way and does the inner loop first. So, okay. I'll show you what it does without. So this is how much Bob moves when you have like a loop inside a loop that's moving 10. And then this is how much Bob would move if it was just 40 pixels. So do you see how the line is so much smaller?
Yeah.
Yep, so it kind of does like, I'm pretty sure it does. So usually with one loop, it would do 40, but we're doing that one loop again another 40 times. So it's like 40 times, not 40, 40 times 4, which is 160. But we also have, where did it go? We also have this thing that happens. So that's another 40 pixels added on that. So it makes it 200 pixels. It's a bit confusing, but does it kind of make sense to you guys?
Yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Does it make sense to you, David?
Mama!
So it's a bit confusing, but like I'll show you again if I run it. So this is just one loop, and we're making Bob move forward 10 pixels. Run module. So it just moves this much, which is 40 pixels. But if we put that inside another loop, so I'm just gonna take away this line because that's a bit confusing. So we're putting this in another loop. We run it, and then it does a bigger line. So what that is doing is, because it's a loop inside of a loop, it does this 40 bit first, because 4 times 10 is 40, 10, 20, 30, 40. So it does this little one first, and then it does the big one. So it goes like 40 times 4. And that's how we get 160, and we get that bigger line. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah, a bit confused. Let's try do another example. So we'll just do it with a variable. So we'll go x is equal to 0. So x is just a little counter we're making. So if we go x is equal to x plus 1, and then inside here we go x is equal to x plus 1. Can someone try have a guess as what x will be at the end of this?
X would be.
So x starts at 0, and then this just means add 1 on to whatever x is.
Or it be. I think it would be 2 or 8.
2 or 8. So David, do you have a guess of what it might be?
I think it's gonna be 2.
2. Okay, so let me
2x.
2x. So let me explain it like step by step. So at the beginning, x is 0. So it's like starts at 0. And now we have this loop, which is saying like repeat it 4 times. And all this line of code is saying is it's just saying x, like add 1 onto x. So we start here, x is 0. By the time we get to this line, x is now 1. And now when we get into this loop, it's saying repeat this bit 4 times again. So now we repeat it, so x is now, we repeat it 4 times, so we add on 4. So we go, x is now 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we do this again. X is now 1. Like we add 1 on, so it's 6 again. And then we get to this line, and then you repeat it 4 times. And you go back to the outer one and do each step. And then you go in here, and then you do this step. So you kind of have to start with the outside loop and then do the inside loop first. So I'm going to get rid of this line because it might be a bit confusing first. But, okay. If you saw this bit of code, what do you think x will be here?
4.
4? Yep, exactly. It will be 4. But now if we put that loop inside another loop, so this little bit means x is 4, but we have to do this little bit 4 times again because it's in another loop. So if we're doing this little bit of code 4 times again, what number will it be? Can anyone tell me? So let me get rid of this again. So you guys,
4 times
yeah.
it would equal 8.
So it would be 4 times 4. So that won't be 8, that will be 16. Pretty sure. So we can get a calculator up to check. So we go 4 times 4, and it's 16.
Yep.
So I'll go through it again with a different number. So if we just have this loop, it will be 4. Does that make sense to everyone why it's 4?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah? Okay. So now if we put this loop, so this is already a loop, if we put it in another loop, but this time if I make it 5, we need to have whatever answer this is repeating 5 times again. So the answer for this is 4, but we need to repeat this whole block of code 5 times again. So do you know what the answer would be?
No, not really.
Not really. So if you...
It would be 4 times 5, which equals 20.
Yep, exactly. So it will be 4 times 5, which makes x at the end of it 20. So the reason for that is this little bit of code here, it makes, like, it repeats it 4 times. So it just means x is 4. And then this, what this code is doing is it's telling us to repeat this whole block of code another 5 times. So 4 times 5 equals 20. So this is kind of the same as saying x is equal to x plus 4. So David, if you saw this bit of code, what do you think the answer would be? Like what would x be at the end of it?
I don't know.
You don't know? So x starts at 0, and then we're just adding 4 onto whatever x is. So x is equal to 4 and then 8, but we repeat that 5 times. So it's 4 times 5, which means it's 20.
Yes.
So this is the same as doing this kind of. It's doing it like in a bit of a different way. But basically, when you put a like for loop inside another loop, it's called the nested loop. It does like, it repeats the calculation, like it repeats the inner loop first, and then it goes back and does the outer loop and repeats the inner loop again.
Yeah, okay.
So it kind of like, it does this loop however many times you tell it in here, but then whatever the answer is from that loop, it does it this many times. So this loop, it's just adding 1 onto x, so x is equal to 0, now it's equal to 1, then you loop again, 2, 3, 4, and then it's 4, so then you repeat whatever the answer was 4 5 times.
Okay.
Does
I
that
think I
kind of
understand
make
that.
sense? So if I change the number, like if this was 2, does anyone know what the answer might be? So you first calculate the smaller loop. What's the answer of this? So this inner loop runs 4 times. So adding 1 onto x, we get 1, 2, 3, 4. And now the outer loop runs 2 times. So we get this calculation, which is 4, and we do it twice. So we times it by 2. So 4 plus 4 is equal to 8.
Yep.
Yeah, does it kind of make sense? It's a bit confusing, but we'll go over it next lesson again, because we just need to add like a little bit to our program. But right now it's the end of the lesson. So apart from this, did anyone have any other questions?
No, not
No?
really.
Okay. So yeah, next week we'll like go over this like nested loop thing again, but we'll add it into our program so that it draws the cool shapes instead of just drawing the shape once.
Yep.
So does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. Well then I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Bye.